Hi, this is John Pettigrew, and you're listening to Talking Through My Hat, a podcast that explores bookish businesses, the fantastic people who create them, and what those people have learned. I'm a hat wearer, a recovering editor, and the creator of Future Proofs, enabling editors and authors to work better online. To find out more, visit wearefutureproofs.com or follow me on Twitter at John_Pettigrew. Welcome to this week's Talking Through My Hat. Today I'm talking with Helen Bagnall, co-founder of Salon London, co-founder of the Transmission Prize for Artists Who Promote Bold, Beautiful Ideas, and also director of the Also Festival of Ideas. Before all that, she worked as a writer for Sony Pictures Entertainment, looking after characters across a range of platforms. So, welcome to the podcast, Helen.
Oh, thanks very much, John.
Oh.
So pleased to be here.
I guess you're best known probably for Salon London, at least that's what's been around the longest. How do you describe Salon London to people who've maybe not encountered it before?
Salon London is really a reaction to our decreasing amounts of time for ideas. And so it is a series of live events that we have across the country, across the capital, that really allow audiences to come together with experts, with academics, with authors, and their ideas in a sort of relaxed and enjoyable location.
Okay, cool. And why did you set that up?
We set it up because we were finding that being sort of micropreneurs and also, or sort of freelance as it was known then, is that we were increasingly having to work harder to get work, both working in the arts, me as a writer, Juliet, who I founded it with, as a singer. And we were finding there was less and less time to look at ideas that were beyond your field. And this is really dangerous for creativity.
Yeah.
Also, it really felt that we were losing touch with really exciting developments in science, art, psychology, neuroscience, all these incredible areas were moving forward at such a pace, and we were feeling excluded from it. So the idea was that we were able to find out about subjects that are really interesting, really important, but not necessarily related to our work.
Okay. And what did you actually do? I mean, how do you organise your first salon event, and how did it kind of grow from there?
There's always a kind of interactive element to the salon as well, and that can really allow us to go anywhere, because there's a limit to how much information you can really take in a night, especially when you're working hard. So I think our first salon, there were always 3 speakers and there were always themes, and our first one I think included Mongolian throat singing. So obviously you can understand it was very easy to get an audience for philosophy, psychology and Mongolian throat singing. And I think we connected and attracted people who were looking for that next big thing. And if you think how big that talk industry is now, with TED Talks, with so many kind of like festivals and events, and this was really the first in that first wave. So there was definitely an audience for it, as you can see by the amount it's grown over the 10 years we've been doing it. Yeah,
I mean, do you find that you're kind of competing more for speakers as well as and for audience for these?
I think that what you will not get from a TED or a TEDx talk is that sense of community. And I think that's very much the other side of what we do. We are very much a live experience. Mm-hmm. And the amount of attention you give to an idea will really affect its use to you.
Okay.
So, if you listen to something for 10 minutes and you quite like it, et cetera, et cetera, you'll have been entertained for 10 minutes. If you come to a salon and spend an hour on a subject and you take a night out of your life and you travel somewhere and you go there, it will have more of an effect on you. And, if you spend a weekend with a book or, a festival, we run a festival as well for exactly this reason, you're giving your brain the best chance to take those ideas and really understand them and really think about how relevant they are for you and how they might affect the way that you want to live. So, I think that, the stuff online is absolutely fantastic for finding out areas of interest that you find interesting. But the live event, I don't think competes with it, because it's a totally different experience.
Yeah. So is that where kind of the Also Festival, did that grow directly out of the salon to try and make it a bigger experience, or was it more just taking the lessons? I mean, where did that come from?
No, you're absolutely right. So one of the difficulties we found with doing Salon is if you're going to look at genetics or Mongolian throat singing or, you know, or parenting or, um, or gender or any of these big subjects, how do your relationship with technology, all of these things, if you're spending one night with it and it's something that you're interested in, you've got work the next day, you've done a day's work as it is, it's quite hard to, really give that idea the attention perhaps it might deserve. And so the festival grew out of the idea of, okay, well, let's move it beyond the night, the Salon London night, and let's turn it into a 3-day celebration of all of these ideas and thoughts and themes we were working through the year, to give people a chance to spend a little bit more time with them, and also actually spend a little bit more time with the academic author or expert who's doing the work.
Yeah.
It's a lovely chance to have a glass of wine with a quantum theorist, or a brilliant author, or have a discussion on with people who are doing the work in the area that you're interested in, which is just can be a real amazing experience, really enjoyable.
I mean, is the key there? I don't know. Maybe both. It may, be, but is the key kind of the time to delve more deeply into the subject, or the time to delve more deeply into the people around you? Is that what makes the festival kind of distinctly different to an evening event?
There is a huge psychological and there is a huge psychological benefit of being in nature with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I'm saying to you is all of these things are sort of layered on top of each other. And when you're at the festival, you have a great chance to go and to listen to something that you have an interest in, or something that you just think you might have an interest in, or someone in your group has an interest in. But being together as a group, or if you're there on your own, being there in nature will make that experience so much more enjoyable and so much more beneficial just by being in a group, because doing stuff together releases oxytocin in the brain, which makes you happier and more bonded as a group. So, it strengthens your friendship, it strengthens your familial relationships, or being in a nature is extremely beneficial to your psychological well-being. So, for kind of like all of those reasons, we wanted to do this, but also it's not a worthy festival. It's a place to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We feel that we lead the world in this area of fascinatainment. It's fascinating, but it is entertaining. And that's our heartland of where we want to be. And the festival is absolutely like that. We have all these incredible ideas. It's a great opportunity to be in 50 acres of nature by a lake. But also, we have a disco bunker and a rum shack and, a kind of like pop-up bar in the woods and, wild swimming and all these incredible things that make it so enjoyable as well.
Is that nature part you're kind of stressing there? Does that come out almost as a reaction? Because obviously to the Salon London, because obviously Salon London is in London, which is not renowned for its abundance of natural environment.
I don't know.
There are good parks in there and stuff, but I'm assuming you don't hold Salon London in the middle of Hyde Park.
No, we do.
Okay.
And I think that one of the big themes for this year is that with 80% of the world's population living in cities by 2050, we need to radically rethink our relationship with nature. And that means, stop thinking of it as a product or something that's in the background, but something that's very much in our foreground.
Yeah.
So, actually, over the summer, we will be holding a couple of salons that are in the forests of London for exactly that reason. And you can see that way we're really balancing up what we've learnt through the festival and bringing that back into London or into the city. And that is essentially, what we're trying to do is that, we as animals and sort of creatures cannot cope without nature. And yet, because we live in the city and because our lives are extremely expedient and efficient, we're getting very removed from that. And so, this is a massive trend. It's going to be absolutely huge next year. But this idea that, one of the responsibilities of having these kind of like great lives in cities and towns is that we start to really need to start looking out for nature in a rethought and a sort of dramatically new way.
Yeah. I mean, you're finding that the two, obviously, what the festival, as you said, in a sense, was birthed out of Salon London, but they're kind of feeding backwards and forwards to each other because of the different context and the different experience that they bring.
Yeah.
There's cross-fertilisation there?
Of course. And I think this is, it's absolutely critical to who we are. The team that run both Salon London and also spend a lot of our time with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We probably read 200 books a year in terms of, looking at what's out there, what's of interest in this kind of thought leadership way.
Yeah.
And so we're very quick to be able to identify the ideas that are of interest, and we'd be crazy not to implement it into how we are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, some of our meetings, often take place with an Eastern practice called, let me find the Japanese word for you. Oh, I can't. But anyway, it's forest bathing in English.
Okay.
And it's this idea that you can reduce your stress and your blood pressure and increase your happiness instantly by walking in a forest. So, a lot of our kind of like meetings where we would have them walking through our forest, and then we'll go back to our computers, obviously. But, the hit that you will get by thinking differently is something that we're always keen to implement, because we have access to all these incredible academics and authors and experts while they're writing their books and coming up with their ideas. So we sort of get them first. And it's very easy to see which are the ones that are going to hit, because they just so resonate.
Yeah. I mean, it is all that research that you do for Salon London and the festival. Is that kind of what led to you setting up the Throne to Mission Prize? As I said, you're exposed to all of these ideas. Did that kind of come directly from there, or was that kind of somewhere else again?
I think the idea with the Transmission Prize is that prizes always seem to be about books. And I think what we felt we were dealing with was with ideas. And sometimes people have really beautiful ideas, but they're not writers.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to really highlight the idea and the ability of the person with that idea to communicate it. Interestingly enough, in the 6 years that we've been running it, there very rarely is a prize winner who hasn't got a book, because often if you're an incredibly good communicator, you can kind of communicate.
A book is part of that, but not the whole picture, yeah?
Yeah, but it does mean that we are able to really look at people who don't have books, and to really celebrate their work as well, because you have to remember, some of these people we work with over the course of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably see them, with audiences of thousands over that time. So we see how thousands of people react to that work, and it's really easy to see which ones really speak to people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it sounds like sort of since you first set up Salon London in search of this, what was the word you used? Fascinainment. Yeah.
Fascinainment.
Yeah. You kind of, it's developed and grown in a lot of different ways. Have you found that it's kind of gone, all of this stuff has gone in the directions you expected? I mean, did you plan for it to go on for this long and to grow into a festival and stuff, or has it kind of you find yourself often kind of taking roads you hadn't planned for?
I think that's a really interesting question. I definitely do think we had an idea of where we wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
But as we now live in times that are extremely complex rather than complicated, there's so many elements over which you have no control when it comes to developing ideas and businesses to a certain degree. So I think we were really lucky in the sense that what we were trying to do caught a sort of zeitgeist feel of the way people wanted to take in information. Yeah. I think that as a business, we've been perhaps fairly reactive rather than kind of striding ahead saying, this is where we want to go next. But I think 10 years gives you a quiet confidence. And 10 years launching in 2008, which is obviously a terrible year financially for the markets, you know that you have the ability to just keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I think that might change in the next few years, in a sense, we really look at where we think we should be, and rather than reacting to where we're being asked to be.
Yeah, and you brought up the kind of the commercial side of it. It kind of intrigues me because you have a mission. You know, the Salon London and these. What you want to do is spread the ideas and give people access to all of this kind of experience. Yeah. But you obviously, you know, if you want to sustain it over 10 years, there has to be some money coming in. How do you balance that within what you do?
It is all about the democratization of ideas. It's highfalutin, that phrase, but it definitely is a motivator. I didn't say it; someone else said it to me, and it really was like, yes, that's what we try and do, because ideas are how you change things. It's, you know, it's not every idea for every person. It's just getting people with soft power to the right idea that will help them to be the best that they can be in their field. Is my motivator. So you're right. Salon London is not for profit. There is, you know, it's so incredibly hard to run that as anything that can really make money. But it does bring enough money to cover our costs for operation. Yeah. So, you know, I have a couple of people who work for me on that, and that just about kind of like manages to work as a not-for-profit. Yeah. The festival, we do have hopes for, as a business, to set up as a limited company. And, you know, the festival market is a market. Yeah. You know, if we get our niche right, if we can get the right sponsorship deals, if we can keep our community growing, I don't see why that can't sustain us. Yeah. And, you know, and the other key area that I think we will grow, which again I think is very now, is through collaborations. I think there's a lot of people that we could collaborate with. We're very, very content rich. You know, we have a huge amount of information about the most current ideas at large in the world at the moment. Yeah. And good relationships in the main with the people who are doing them, and a lot of experience of how people enjoy finding out about these ideas. So I think there's more that we can do in people with companies that are very good at marketing or very good at building audience. Yeah. So kind of, as you say, a kind of collaborative, a partner-based approach without compromising your mission, I guess. That's it. The democratization aspect. Absolutely, because we, you know, in the times we have tried to do that ourselves, and I know this is a business podcast, so, you know, business is not something that really drives any of the core team. That's not to say we don't realise how important it is and how interesting it is. But I think there are other partners that we could work with that we could both do what we do really, really well, but there are definitely areas of mutual interest. And that is something that I think as we go forward we'll be looking at. So I guess we're sort of growing up a bit. I mean, we're the absolute opposite of a startup. We've taken 10 years to think, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we've got a minimal viable proposition. Well, it is one of the interesting things when the best businesses aren't generally created and driven by people who want to make a lot of money. If you want to make a lot of money, you go and work for a big bank. Right. Or a management consultant or something. You know, starting a business is not a great way to earn large amounts of money. Generally, people are doing it because they have a passion for something. They have a change they want to make. Yeah. Okay. But there is a different perspective if you're coming at it as a business to something is kind of much more missional, much more just about the passion, about the idea of ideas in your sense. And it's just that difference in context is kind of intriguing, because you say spend a lot of time, obviously, researching the ideas, the content that's going to form the basis of it. Do you spend any time trying to kind of learn how to do Salon London better? I mean, some of the ideas that you cover, I guess, are going to be in that. You mentioned collaboration and those kinds of sides, but do you spend time thinking and working on that? I think we do, but I think we're able to do it in a really kind of exciting and interesting way. Uh-huh. So if you think of someone, say, like Dan Pink or Sam Conniff-Allende or Margaret Heffernan, are all incredible business writers and entrepreneurs, and have fantastic ideas. But I get to spend time with them, and they want to talk to me about what I do because they're part of it. So they're sort of bringing their brand to me. So they want to be sure that they're not working with someone who's not is going to harm their work.
Yeah.
So so you do end up. I mean, I've had conversations with Margaret Heffernan where the comments she's made have made me do an absolute U-turn on something I was planning, because it's from her perspective just not making sense, and it's just having light shone on something that you're doing from an incredibly successful source. The same with Dan Pink and his recent work on timing. Talking to him, and it was suddenly realised that all of our meeting structures were in the completely wrong time in the day for what we were trying to achieve, and that needed completely rethinking. And the same with Sam and his, work on disruption. Suddenly realised that actually the way that we were working with the publishing industry probably wasn't in a way that they wanted to work with us. So, it was. I think it's ad hoc in a way, and I'm perhaps making more of a joke of it than it actually is. These are things that, as soon as we see them, we do implement very quickly.
Yeah.
And, to the best of our abilities, because it would be crazy not to.
Yeah, well, this is it. As you say, being in the business of ideas, being in the area of promulgating ideas means, kind of by definition, as you say, that you're exposed to the latest and greatest and the best, and to the people who are thinking about those things. It kind of be daft not to exploit that.
I know it sounds crazy, but when I look around the sort of the kind of key people in the team who delivered Salon London and also Festival, and see the changes that they have made in their lives and in their work lives over the last 10 years, I think there's very little that you couldn't trace back to something they've heard a speaker say on one of the salon stages. Because, as I said to you right in the beginning of, the ideas we hear, the more attention we give them, the more we internalize them.
Yeah.
So the more exposed we are, if they're good ideas and they're well researched and they're rigorously tested and that, they make sense and you're hearing them, then why wouldn't you make those changes? It becomes very easy to do. Because once you start making changes, once you're sort of open to, okay, well, let me just try that out, or let me bring that in, then it just becomes a lot easier till it's almost unconscious, really.
Yeah.
You've learnt the language of how to, take an idea from kind of like thought leadership and implement it into the way that you work and into your business.
It's kind of odd thinking about that, because obviously, I'm very much from a publishing background. You mentioned, obviously, you work with publishers, with people who write books, with people who publish books. Publishing isn't great at that. They publish all these books of all these ideas of how to improve your business and how to improve your life, and you don't often see publishing companies doing that self-examination and going, look, we just published this great book on how you should run a business. Maybe we should pay attention.
Well, I mean, you've got to love publishing. It's such a noble industry. They have incredible skills, incredible people, very limited resource that's continually asked to be a business that delivers growth every year. It's just not sustainable. It's a mature business, and so it really alters the way that publishing operates, and I really feel for it. And but I think we're part of a tiny part of the solution. I think that we can do much more to support them with the books that they do, and finding audience and fans, really.
Yeah. So you've spent, as you say, 10 years doing Salon London, exposing yourself to all of these ideas and this kind of stuff. What is it that you personally find hardest still about running well, all these different organisations, which in some ways are quite different to each other? What is it that's the struggle for you?
What really?
Yeah.
Really, my struggle is marketing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible, and to market things effectively is so incredibly difficult, and getting people's attention for what you do is such a hard thing to do, and increasingly harder.
Yeah.
But I lack the skills for it or the interest in it. So I think, and it's very, very difficult to run a business or any entity without having, a really good marketing strategy.
So how have you gone about kind of overcoming that?
I think we all manage it a bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we all feel quite similar to it. But we do work with, as I said, collaboration will probably be the way that we solve that. And whether that's marketing agencies, we have a great publicity, a PR company, and we have a lot of friends who are coming and do ad hoc projects for us. But I think we've got a singular problem, and one I think that probably a lot more people have than have ever had before, was that we really, really love what we do.
Yeah.
We really, really don't love banging on about it.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, there is a definite difference there, isn't it? You can be passionate about something while being a little. It's a self-effacing part. You can be passionate about something else, but talking about it is a different thing. I think that's right. I mean, we don't have any trouble talking about the people we work with. Yeah.
But I think we really struggle in making a connection in people's minds that we're the people who forge those connections, find out about those ideas, and get them out there.
Yeah.
I think we're sort of hiding what we do a bit. But as I said to you, as we look forward, I think that's something we can possibly change.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, being exposed to all of these ideas and all this reflection and all this kind of environment, I'm guessing, kind of from what you've said, it's kind of already become clear. You've learned quite a bit about yourself and how to improve what you do and how you go about things over that. I mean, was there anything you pick up, particularly that you've learned from running Salon London Festival, this kind of stuff?
I think if you're doing anything live, you learn how good you are in the moment. And I think there are probably there are people who are good in the moment, and there are people who are not good in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think all of our team are incredibly resourceful problem solvers when we're really, really up against it. Okay. So I think I didn't really know that. I think I didn't really know how much the joy of running your own entity is so different from working for other people.
Yeah.
And that sheer ability to do what you want to do and face the consequences, I find exhilarating. Again, I think that that's not necessarily something that I knew before. And I think you really realise what your capabilities are, but what the limits of your capabilities are. And that's a kind of quite salutary lesson to learn.
Yeah, you do tend to run up against, because you have to do so many things, you do tend to run up against your own limits, don't you?
Yeah.
And have to deal with that.
I think if you're dealing with other people's, if somebody else's company, I think you go much further before realising, oh, okay, this is... So I think you get a real sense of your resources and your abilities and your capabilities through doing something, on your own, which I don't think I knew before working for other people.
Yeah. And what is it then that keeps you coming back to it? You've been doing it for 10 years. You keep adding new bits on. What is it that keeps you coming back to it every day?
I think it's the people that the authors, the speakers, the academics. People who have looked at the world and spent their lives trying to find a new and useful approach. I find absolutely, mesmerising. Yeah. And the fact that they're willing to share that with people is, obviously they're financially kind of, they've got to do something, haven't they, to eat. But, the fact that they really want to get that out there, I think is really admirable.
Yeah, brilliant.
I get to sort of be with them and, help them, not in a kind of, oh, I'm your, assistant, your PR, or, I'm actually with them saying, I think this idea can work with these people and we've just got to get there. And through events. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time, Helen. That's been a really interesting conversation.
Oh, good. And you, John. Thank you so much.
This was Talking Through My Hat, a podcast by John Pettigrew, founder of We Are Futureproofs. Please let me know your thoughts by leaving a review at Apple Podcasts or by commenting on the website myhat.wearefutureproofs.com. You can subscribe to this channel at Apple Podcasts, Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Our theme music is from hooksounds.com.